Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hey, it's Robert J. Moore, Next Level.
All right, so imagine like hitting rock bottom. No, I mean really hitting it. Homelessness, addiction, prison time. That was Robert J. Moore's reality.
It's tough to even fathom, right?
Totally. But now, picture this. That same guy sharing a stage with motivational giants like, Les Brown, Eric Thomas, featured in Forbes, even holding a Guinness World Record.
It's almost like a movie, but way more powerful because it's real. It shows that resilience. It's not about dodging hardship. It's about finding that strength inside that a lot of us don't even realize we've got.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, how Robert not only survived, but thrived.
We're talking his book, Resilience, his YouTube channel, stories from those who knew him, really getting at how he became the man he is now.
And to understand how far he's come, we got to go back to the start, his childhood. It wasn't exactly sunshine and roses.
Not even close. Robert's early years were rough, marked by this feeling of displacement. His parents split when he was only 2, blended family struggles, always that sense of not quite belonging, searching for solid ground, but constantly on shaky terrain.
Man, that feeling of not belonging, it's powerful. It can really shape a person. And for Robert, those early struggles, they kind of became the setup for bigger issues down the line.
Definitely. It's like that story about the in-house suspension backfiring. They were trying to control him, but it just fueled the fire, perfectly illustrating his rebellious nature.
It's almost ironic, right? The school trying to rein him in just pushed him further away.
Yeah.
And then there's that story about Robert defending his brother from bullies, but becoming a bully himself in the process.
Exactly. It shows how Robert always had this strong protective instinct, but really struggled with impulse control. He even talks about this in his documentary, how it got him in tons of fights. Good intentions, but the execution, not so much.
It's a good reminder that sometimes even trying to do the right thing can lead to unintended consequences, especially when anger or frustration take over. And as Robert became a teenager, these early warning signs, they escalated into some seriously tough times.
Yeah, things get pretty intense. Running away at 16 to live with his mom and her husband, he thought he was finding stability. But what he found was more conflict. He even admits to, get this, drinking all his stepfather's beer. Not a great move.
Not exactly the family reunion he was hoping for.
Nope. And that kind of set the stage for a period of intense hardship for him. Cigarettes, which he was stealing from his parents, turned into alcohol and drugs as he spent more time on the streets. It was a recipe for disaster.
A downward spiral, pulling him further away from any sense of normalcy. And it was during this time that Robert experienced something that could have broken him.
Yeah.
He was stabbed.
It's a chilling reminder of how dangerous and unpredictable life on the streets can be.
The way he describes it in his book is just raw, stabbed with a 12-inch blade. The feeling of it being ripped out, frantically trying to find help, even flagging down a pizza delivery guy, terrified he was going to bleed out right there on the pavement.
You'd think an experience like that would leave anyone scarred, both physically and mentally. But what's amazing is that Robert maintained this dark sense of humor throughout it all. Almost like this underlying resilience, finding humor in the darkest of places.
It really just speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, doesn't it? Finding a way to laugh in the face of trauma, almost like a defense mechanism, a way to cope.
Exactly. And as unhealthy as it might have been at the time, it was crucial to Robert's survival. Allowed him to compartmentalize, to keep putting one foot in front of the other, even when all hope seemed lost. But then right in the middle of this chaos enters Penny.
And with Penny, we finally see a glimmer of hope. It's like for the first time, Robert has a real shot at stability, at building a life beyond the turmoil he'd known. So tell me more about Penny. Who was she?
Penny's a turning point in Robert's story. She sees past his rough exterior, loves him for who he is, flaws and all. They had a daughter together, Elizabeth, and for a little while it seemed like Robert was finally ready to embrace a different kind of life.
He even writes about how he was trying to hold down a job to be a provider, roles that were probably really new and challenging for him at that point.
He was really trying. But addiction, it's insidious. Those ingrained habits are really tough to break, even with love and responsibility staring you in the face. He was still wrestling those demons.
And just when it seemed like things were turning around, tragedy struck again. This time, hitting closer to home than ever before. This wasn't just another bump in the road for Robert. This was life-changing. Penny, pregnant with their second child, went into labor, and tragically, there were complications.
Yeah, you can feel the rawness of those moments in resilience. He's describing pure joy, excitement, showering Penny with love, making breakfast. It shows a side of him we haven't really seen before.
It's like we're seeing this different Robert. The man, the partner, the father he so desperately wanted to be. But then, as Penny's labor progressed, everything just went sideways.
Seizures started, then a hemorrhage. Robert describes holding his newborn son, watching the love of his life slip away. It's a tough read, a harsh reminder of how quickly things can change.
Experiencing that kind of loss, especially while welcoming new life, it's hard to even wrap your head around. How did he cope?
Even with this immense grief, his addiction didn't just disappear. He talks about turning back to alcohol, unable to deal with the pain. It just goes to show how deeply rooted these behaviors can be. Even life's biggest blows don't erase them overnight.
It's heartbreaking because you see how much he wanted to be there for his kids, to break free. But addiction doesn't care. So now he's a single dad, grieving, battling his own demons, and trying to raise a newborn and his young daughter, Elizabeth. That's an impossible situation for anyone.
And it gets even more complicated. Robert's struggles lead to a custody battle over Elizabeth.
That's got to be one of the toughest things a parent can go through. What happened?
His brother-in-law, Russell, stepped in, worried about Elizabeth's well-being. Understandable given the circumstances. Robert was limited to supervised visits. And to add insult to injury, he had to travel a long way for them. He even talks about biking for hours, only to be told the visit was canceled once he got there. Can you imagine?
It really highlights how addiction's impact goes way beyond just the individual. It affects everyone around them. So here's Robert, reeling from losing Penny, struggling with addiction, separated from his daughter. It's bleak. Yet, you mentioned a glimmer of hope. Where does that come in?
This is where things take a turn. He makes a decision that seems small on the surface. Robert quit smoking cold turkey.
It's amazing how something seemingly insignificant can be a catalyst for huge change. What kind of impact did quitting smoking have on him?
It's like conquering that one addiction unlocked something inside him, a belief in himself he didn't know he had. Maybe, just maybe, he could escape the cycle that had trapped him for so long.
It's like he finally saw a way out, a light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. And with that renewed determination, he fully committed to recovery. Treatment, the 12 steps, rebuilding his life piece by piece. It was a conscious choice to change his story.
That takes serious strength. But it wasn't just about beating addiction, was it? Robert also focused on improving himself in other ways.
Absolutely. This new clarity fueled a desire to better himself. He went back to school. Imagine being an adult after years of addiction, trying to find your footing again in a classroom. That's commitment.
It shows the power of having a goal, something to reach for.
He's honest about the challenges, the old habits, the self-doubt, but he pushed through, eventually earning his high school diploma and even going for a college degree in social work.
Talk about proving that your past doesn't define you. It's never too late for a new chapter. But Robert didn't stop there, did he? It feels like he wanted to use what he went through to help others.
You're spot on. As he dove deeper into recovery and education, Robert discovered a new purpose, helping others fighting those same demons.
His past, all that pain, it became the foundation for something incredible. What did that look like for him?
He started small, volunteering at an addiction treatment center, sharing his story with those just starting out, talking about visiting the homes of people who were struggling, those still caught in that cycle. He felt this pull to use his experience, good and bad, to guide others toward a brighter path.
That sense of responsibility of wanting to give back because he knew firsthand how hard it was.
Exactly. And as he kept sharing his story, offering support, he started to get noticed. Not just locally, but globally. He's featured in Forbes, wins awards for his coaching, even earns a Guinness World Record for, get this, leading the biggest simultaneous book signing ever.
What a turnaround. It's like all that pain, all those struggles, he channeled them into this incredible force for good.
And that's what makes his story so powerful. It embodies that human ability to overcome anything, to find purpose and redemption in the most unexpected places.
But his journey doesn't end there. We talked about his struggles with family, losing Penny, being separated from Elizabeth. Did those relationships ever heal? It's incredible how Robert's story comes full circle. After years apart, he and Elizabeth reconnect. Talk about forgiveness of the strength of family, even when it's been tested to the limit.
It really is something. And we get to hear about this directly from Elizabeth herself. She's actually in his YouTube documentary, sharing her own perspective on everything.
Oh, wow. What does she say?
So she talks about how, for years, the family kept her dad's identity a secret. Given his past, his struggles, it makes sense.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a lot for a child to process.
Right. And she grew up calling him Uncle Rob, not knowing the truth about their connection. It's amazing to hear her talk about building a relationship, even with all that lost time.
It really speaks to the power of forgiveness and understanding, doesn't it? That even with those kinds of hurdles, a family can find its way back together.
Absolutely. And then there's Jeffrey, Robert's son, who was just a baby when his mom, Penny, passed.
Their story is particularly powerful, given the circumstances of Jeffrey's birth, with Robert in the throes of addiction during those early years. Were they able to connect, to build something?
They were. Robert talks about this really touching moment where Jeffrey, all grown up, presents him with a 5-year sobriety chip at a recovery meeting.
Wow. That's incredible. It's like a symbol, not just of Robert's own victory over addiction, but the impact it had on his son. Proof that breaking those cycles can ripple through generations.
Exactly. It underscores the generational impact of recovery, how one person's transformation can lift up everyone around them.
It's inspiring, to say the least. So we've covered a lot: Robert's childhood, addiction, loss, and ultimately his redemption. If you had to pick, what are the key things you hope our listeners take away from Robert's story?
It's a powerful reminder that resilience isn't some rare gift. It's in all of us. It's like a muscle, getting stronger every time we face adversity. Robert's journey, even with all its ups and downs, shows us that it doesn't matter how many times life knocks you down, you can always get back up, even stronger than before.
It's about recognizing that inner strength we all have, that potential waiting to be unlocked. And often it's those tough experiences that force us to dig deep and find it.
And we can't forget the importance of second chances. Robert's story isn't just about conquering his demons, it's about finding purpose. Despite everything, he found a way to make things right, to use what he'd learned to help others, and by doing that, he changed his whole story.
It's a powerful reminder that your past doesn't have to define your future. Even in the darkest times, there's always hope, always a chance to make things right and have a positive impact on the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, this has been an incredible deep dive into the life of Robert J. Moore.
So you're diving deep into personal development, huh? And this Robert J. Moore, his next level coaching, it's got you curious. You've really went all out with the material. You sent videos, articles. Wow. Seems like you want to be sure this is the real deal, not just another coaching fad.
Smart move, honestly. There's no shortage of programs promising the world right.
Right.
But what we're doing today will give you what you need to decide if this Moore guy, if this program, it fits what you want.
Exactly. And to do that, we've got to start with the man himself. Going through all this stuff, what struck us is how Moore's story, well, it's not your typical coaching background.
No, not the guy born into privilege, that's for sure. This is someone who knows hardship firsthand. We're talking 7 years homeless. 7. Debt up to his eyeballs.
Oh.
Can you imagine the weight of that?
I can barely wrap my head around it. To not just bounce back, but to become the successful entrepreneur. Forbes, Fortune, even Hot Post. That's a journey.
And that journey, that's what makes him relatable. You know,
Yeah.
he's not just talking. He's lived it, gone through the fire, and come out the other side.
Like he used that adversity, turned it into fuel.
Right.
That aha moment everyone talks about where he stops blaming the world, decides to change. That's powerful stuff.
Pivotal, really. It's the core of his coaching, too. Taking ownership. He realized no one else was coming to save him. He had to make the choice.
And that's where education comes in, right? Positive thinking, that whole thing is
Yeah.
like he reprogrammed his brain for success.
Exactly. Dove into personal development, absorbed everything he could, and here's the kicker, he put it into practice. Didn't just read about success, he lived it.
Okay, so we've got this Robert J. Moore, right? Transforms his own life, builds this company, Magnetic Entrepreneur, Inc., helping others do the same. But then sharing the stage with 2.1 million people at Turning Point 2020. There's something almost poetic about that.
Absolutely. Speaks to the power of his message, clearly reaching a lot of people. And it's not just big events either. People are lining up to share how he's impacted them personally.
Right. Like James Franklin, the NFL quarterback, he's raving about Moore, how dedicated he is to empowering others. And then there's Serena Brown Travis. Her dad's Les Brown, the motivational speaker. She credits Moore with helping her find her own strength, her confidence. Those are big endorsements.
And they highlight something important about Moore's method, something we'll get into more later. It's not just generic advice. He's drawing out the potential within each person he works with.
So we've got Moore, this incredible story, but what about this next level coaching? Does the program actually deliver?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And from what you've given us, one thing's for sure. This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's been around since 2005. That says something.
And Moore's whole thing seems to be the opposite of that hustle mentality everyone's talking about. He's all about tuning out the noise, focusing on passion.
Exactly. So many programs, they're all about the externals, right? The money, the status.
Yeah.
But Moore, he flips it. He's like, look, if you want real success, find what lights you up inside.
It's that saying, do what you love.
No.
But how do you turn that into an actual program? Help people find their passion. And I don't mean in some vague, wishy-washy way.
That's where the structure comes in. Next level coaching, it's 4 levels. It's a journey, basically. Self-discovery, growth, and it aims to get you in a leadership position. But not just climbing the ladder. It's about being your best self along the way.
Okay, so there's a framework. I like that. Our listeners appreciate that. Not just fluffy advice. What do these levels involve? What kind of stuff does Moore zero in on?
Well, he's big on goal setting. But not just any goals. They got to be tied to your values, your passions.
Yeah.
And there's communication, building trust. And this is huge self-awareness, emotional intelligence, that whole ball game.
Buzzwords, for sure.
Yeah.
But what's that look like in real life? How would Moore handle, say, emotional intelligence?
Okay, picture this. You're in a meeting, high stakes, right? Colleague pitches an idea, and you think it's garbage. Instinct is to shut it down, yeah. But someone with high emotional intelligence, they take a breath. They try to see where the colleague's coming from, ask questions, acknowledge their perspective. Then they offer their own ideas, but collaboratively, not combatively.
Ah, I see. It's not just being nice, it's being smart about it. Aware of yourself, how you come across.
Exactly. And Moore doesn't just say, do this. He gives you tools, strategies to actually use it. Identify your strengths, overcome those limiting beliefs we all have. Oh, and he makes you make a plan, and you're held accountable for it.
So there's follow through. It's not a weekend seminar. You forget it all by Monday. He's in your corner.
Precisely. That's another thing. This isn't about quick fixes. Moore's all about building habits, changing your mindset for the long haul. Not just a motivational sugar rush. He wants lasting change.
This is comprehensive stuff, but we live in a tech world now. Is Moore techie or more old school? It's like he's blending the old wisdom stuff with like modern tech, and you can't ignore tech these days. It's everywhere.
You got that right. And Moore, he gets it. He actually uses it in his coaching. AI specifically.
Whoa, really? AI? That's wild. Everyone's talking about it, but coaching? What, does robot replace Moore or something?
No robot takeover here. Think of it more like AI gives him a boost. From what we've seen, it's about automating stuff, like tracking how clients are doing, even tailoring parts of the program. Say you're working on public speaking right now. AI could analyze your practice runs, tell you where you could improve, almost like having a coach in your pocket.
That is kind of mind-blowing. So it's like support, but personalized, on top of working with Moore himself and his team, right? Speaking of which, we got to mention the documentary Reinventing Freedom. That's Moore's story. And 9 awards, that's got to mean something.
It does. This is where it all connects. He's not just preaching, he's living it. And the documentary, it doesn't shy away from the rough stuff. It's not all sunshine and roses. It shows the struggle, the grit it took for him to get where he is.
It's like he's saying, hey, I've been there, done that, and I can show you the way out. That's powerful stuff. But what about the future? Any big plans for next level coaching?
Oh yeah, he's thinking big. Global expansion, that's the goal. But get this, virtual coaching. He's not limited to just meeting people face-to-face anymore. He's using tech so anyone, anywhere can join in.
That's huge. It's like personal development for everyone, not just those who can afford it or live in the right place.
And here's the thing, he's not just copying and pasting his old program online. He's adapting it, changing with the times, staying true to what he believes in, but evolving.
Not an easy thing to do. And I love that he's all about the whole picture, personal well-being, mental resilience. It's not just about work, work, work.
Exactly. You can't ignore one part of your life and expect to be thriving.
Right.
It's got to be all connected.
It's about building a life you actually enjoy that feels meaningful. So as we wrap up this deep dive on Robert J. Moore and next level coaching, what are your final thoughts?
I think what we see here is Moore's not just selling a program. It's bigger than that. It's a whole philosophy. It's about passion, being genuine, and always growing. He's not promising you'll be a millionaire overnight, but he's offering a way to get where you want to go.
Well said. And for you listening, it sounds like you're at a crossroads trying to decide if next level coaching is right for you. What speaks to you about Moore's approach? Does it resonate with what you want in life? Maybe the real question is, what does next level even mean for you?
A man who shows us the true meaning of resilience. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and remember, it's never too late to rewrite your story.